So I've been to Sundance twice, exactly twice, and I've only wanted to come here, I suppose, if I was invited, or I feel like I wanted to work to get here. So it's, firstly, just like such an honor to be invited back. I've been saying that I think Sundance is the gold standard in a way of certainly film festivals, but in the independent film scene, and it feels like the perfect homecoming to for this movie that has been with me now for 6 years since we were at the festival. But it's a generous host to play this movie. So it feels wonderful. After we made the short specifically for that medium. I'm a big fan of short films, and that's the story we had at the moment. But I think we received so well that Ben Neighbors and I, who was my writing partner, we realized we had more story to tell, certainly about New York City and sound, but also we had this access point of this character of the house tuner that we wanted to do so much more with. So we really spent the year after that short writing it out properly, and then spending the ensuing years past that really kind of developing it and finding the right people to help us make it. To me, it was always, after we had the script, finding the role of that house tuner, and that's where I had always wanted to work with Peter, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get him the script, wrote him a long kind of love letter of sorts, and to my amazement,
flattery always helps.
Yeah, and he responded to it right away, and I think we were sitting down to lunch within days. I think that I heard that he read it. And
that's usually the case with me, is if I like something, I know immediately. And, if you find yourself like kicking something down the road, or it's like, let me think about it another week, that's never a good sign. So
what made you respond to it?
I think probably my own relationship to both, not just sound. I mean, I am someone who thinks about that kind of thing a lot, but also just the idea of obsession and being so obsessed with something that you become blind to a lot of other things that really matter. I've certainly experienced that. Also, that the characters seem like a kind of enigma on the page, and that's always very interesting to an actor, because it's a lot of things that need you. You were required. I actually knew Ornette Coleman, and I thought about him some when we were doing this, because I remember being over at his place once, and he was talking about sound and music, and the organization of sound into music, and how that it was something, he considered it something sort of universal that was happening all the time, that you could either participate in or not. And he had really kind of far out interesting ideas about it. And I always found him sort of entertaining. I also found it, in a way, both a spiritual thing and goofy, if that's possible, for something to be both things at once. And that's what I liked about this story, was I was like, it made me smile a lot and maybe occasionally laugh, but it also had this very spiritual element. It's like kind of two opposites.
For one, it's just being aware of sound is something I think about a lot. I live in a very noisy city, and I grew up in a very quiet place in the country in Vermont. So it was, I think inherently I'm just always kind of attuned to, okay, there's a lot of noises that I'm not, that I didn't grow up with me, that aren't my DNA. And it's, there's, historical precedent for sound in New York that I was really interested in from a history side. And even though, we have a invented profession, so to speak, in the movie, it didn't seem so far from reality to me that, New Yorkers certainly are thinking about the way sound's affecting them. And this character was a great access point to play a lot with sound, which I don't think is always considered as much in movies. So yeah. Suddenly it was a new tool to play with, in the edit, but also in production. We thought a lot about sound.
I kept thinking that a lot of the movie was going to be made after we finished shooting it also, that, what an important thing sound, the the non-diegetic added sound at the end of the movie that in some movies manipulates an audience into feeling something that's not apparent on screen, sometimes sort of draws out something that is a low tone that an actor might be playing. And so I was curious the way that it was going to work in relationship to the movie. I thought there was a real chance to do something new and interesting.